Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, welcome. So we're here today with What If the Purge Was Real by Alternate History Hub. Now, here's the funny thing about two things. Well, two very funny things I find funny, but you might not find funny. One, I've known about Alternate History Hub for like the longest time. And I've just never watched this video. I watched like two videos a long time ago and found it was really exciting, really interesting, wanted to watch more, and then I just never did. And now we are. Now we're watching them and reacting to them as well. Second thing is, this video is What If the Purge Was Real? I've not seen The Purge. I don't know what it's about. Well, I don't know exactly what it's about. I do know the concept behind it, which is basically that like for a day or a night, or maybe like a day and a night, maybe like 24 hours, crime is basically legal from what I think. That's basically what it is, right? Like for like 24 hours, the movie is like, what if crime was legal? How would people behave? And I think it's kind of just like everyone can do that. Like, you know, not just like the poor or the wealthy or whatnot, or people in power, but like everyone is able to do that. I think that's what it is, but I'm not 100% certain. So with all of that said though, we're just gonna hop right in. I hope we get some like context of the Purge, because otherwise I'm gonna just assume what I'm said is right, which, you know what, even if it's not right, I think it's pretty close anyway. So with that said, what if the Purge was real? Please check out the original one before you watch my reaction to it. But with that said, we're gonna hop right in.
Imagine that for once a year, for 12 hours, practically all crime is legal.
Yeah,
and
all right.
anything you do in this time frame will have no repercussions.
Perfect.
Somehow
So I
in
was
this
right.
alternate world, this creates peace and prosperity for the rest of the year, and is a perfect system to govern 300 million people. This is the concept laid out in the Purge films, a movie series which took an interesting thought experiment and then promptly fell flat on its face with the idea. Yet the concept never stopped people from theorizing how such a scenario would play out. I'm one of those people. Using the information about laws and politics from the movie itself, I'll create an alternate timeline and theorize just what scenarios the series got right and what it didn't. In the lore, an economic collapse led to a political party, the New Founding Fathers, to take power in the US. Immediately after taking control, the idea was to install a new...
Okay, so let me just get this right. So it is mainly a US party, like a US, I mean, most movies, to be fair, are US centric, but it's not like international, so it's not like everyone in the world can commit crimes, so to speak. It's mainly just everyone in the US can do it. Okay, so that's the first interesting thing that I'm realizing. Does this apply to like any crime? As in like financial crime as well? Obviously that's the first thing that I'm not talking about like petty theft or, you know, things like that. I'm talking about more like fraud and like fraud and cybercrime were like the two things that I thought about. Financial crimes as well, because like those things, like even if you committed the crime on that day, the transaction wouldn't actually happen during that day. Because like even when you send money to someone, it's not instant. Even if you receive the money, even if it shows up on your bank account that you've gotten money, but the money hasn't actually been sent. It's still, you know, it's like a 3-day transition typically, unless you send it by like BACS or TT, telegraphic transfer, where then it's like a day. But like
amendment into the Constitution.
I don't know.
The annual Purge. If I was to be very realistic about the scenario, there would be a revolution right off the bat. If the Purge was implemented, nobody would allow it to happen.
Sounds fair.
Immediately attempt to overthrow the New Founding Fathers. There is no mainstream political group in the US who would support such an idea. But never mind that. The new government is set up, the first annual Purge Day is upon us, March 21st, and a revolution just simply doesn't occur at the news of this idea. There are just two rules in the Purge.
Okay.
You can use any weapon, just not explosives, so no grenades, missile launchers, or mortars. You cannot kill government officials that are ranked 10 or higher. The film never specifies what this means, but I'm assuming it means that the senator is off limits while your mailman is free game. The entire country shuts off its emergency systems, police, fire department, hospitals, in this 12-hour span. Then after 12 hours, everyone is just supposed...
I just realized it's 12 hours. Okay, 12 hours. Sorry, I'm theory crafting as well while watching this. So this is a bit of like a reaction, but also like a theory crafting, all right? No explosive, that makes complete sense, because quite frankly, you know, you don't want anyone to get that's in charge of like nuclear weapons, you know, just to be like, man, I've got a death wish, and just like take everyone with them. I mean, granted, in that case, I mean, they would take everyone with them, and they wouldn't be there in the first place. So, there's no point if it's a crime or not. You're not going to be there in the first place. But you get the point. Especially in America, with like everyone has a gun or something. I would assume, I'm assuming, yeah. This the stereotype that you have about America, that I have about America, is that like everyone is a gun wielding, like, stay off my property or I'm gonna shoot you. That's kind of the stereotype that we've got. Do we in the UK have about America? I might be completely off here, but I don't think so based on the statistics.
Supposed to stop, or they'll be charged with the crime they just committed. Kill someone at 7:01. That's now a felony. You ask, but how would anyone know you killed someone at 7:01? Well, they wouldn't, because there wouldn't be any cops. The system isn't very smart. In this alternate timeline, March 21st is here. The countdown starts. The Purge officially begins. So, now what? In the movie, bands of psychos go around slaughtering anyone they see. Originally, I was going to tear this idea apart. The rule of law is not the only thing holding back normal America.
Like, I'm sorry, but like, that's what doesn't make sense to me, right? And he kind of mentioned, I don't know if they go into more details, but that's what doesn't make sense to me. Like, financial crime. Let's say you do the crime on that day. What was it? March 21st, right? Let's say you do the crime on that day. But it takes 3 days, or let's say 2 days, for the money to transfer. Is that a crime then or not? Because like you committed the crime on that day, but it hasn't executed, so to speak, until like 2 days after. So so did you commit the crime on that day and are charged for it, or are you exonerated from it? Like what's the process here? So to me, the concept doesn't make sense. I mean, he talked about it a little bit, like, how will you know that you committed a crime next day? I mean, to be fair, if it was like murder or something, you can, you can find out for autopsies and whatnot. But like anything else, it's just like, I don't know.
From massacring each other.
Sorry,
morality of law is not the only thing holding back normal Americans from massacring each other. Morality and basic human nature still apply in a lawless environment.
Yep.
Killers would certainly take the advantage and rampage,
They would
just
fight
not
back.
thousands of psychopaths. Spoiler alert, in the film series, these mass psychos are not natural. They're paid by the US government to go around massacring the lower class, because, surprise, surprise, Americans don't naturally want to kill each other. I would agree with the movie in this aspect. In this alternate timeline, most American citizens would bunker down in their homes, streets would remain empty, and only psychos or paid thugs battle it out in the streets.
Makes sense.
Usually in lawless environments, such as a riot or a natural disaster, looting, robberies, rapes, general disorder occur. However, none of this happens in the Purge. With death squads patrolling the streets, any crowd gathering is immediately a target and fired upon.
Well.
People would be too terrified to go outside, so typical scenes of looting stores couldn't occur. Ironically, in this alternate timeline, the government-paid thugs would accidentally keep true riots and chaos from occurring. Most murders that do occur would be domestic ones between disgruntled family members. However, this is still extremely small. In the film, somehow by implementing the Purge, unemployment went down. The economy boomed and the nation is better as a whole. This all happened somehow by killing off the poorest of society.
I was just about to
those
say
who
that.
couldn't afford to protect themselves or seek shelter. In this alternate timeline, the government's plan to kill off the poorest doesn't work out this way. There is no economic boom and unemployment doesn't go down. In this alternate timeline, the Purge does nothing but further destroy the United States' already collapsed economy. Since there is no fire department, arson and massive citywide fires could cause billions of dollars in damages.
Makes sense.
Even an accidental kitchen fire that goes out of control in an apartment building could potentially destroy
whole
entire
block.
economic centers.
Yep.
Banks can be robbed. Companies can use corporate sabotage to destroy competitors.
Oh, you
Small
think?
businesses are now terrible ventures as they can be looted one day out of the year. Insurance is a nightmare. The economy does not work well when financial assets, small companies and large companies, practically everything, can be burned down across the country
Makes
in one
complete
night.
and utter
The stock
sense.
market would collapse the day before the Purge, and every year the Purge was continued. In our timeline, riots affect parts of cities for years. In Philadelphia and Baltimore, some
I didn't even think about the stock market. Like, obviously the stock market would crash, but like somebody that worked in the stock market could then just like transfer all that money to themselves, like or sell it all,
In our timeline, riots affect parts of cities for years. In Philadelphia and Baltimore, some sections have still not recovered from riots decades ago. Riots don't occur during the Purge, but the consequences of the violence and fires don't go away when the Purge ends.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Money would have to come from somewhere to rebuild. The Purge in a realistic scenario would basically be the US shooting itself in the foot every year and calling it progress. In this alternate scenario, the economy had already collapsed, so the global effects of the Purge might not do much more damage. However, implementing the Purge would just keep kicking an already down US economy. In the film series, the Purge was created by the 1% to sadistically kill off the poor. It's a metaphor, yet taking it at face value, it's laughably stupid.
Yeah, stupid.
The Purge
Okay.
would do nothing but allow the economy to get punched and gutted every year, further hurting billionaires in one of the few places that actually matter, burning down half the city. Realistically,
Properties that they own.
Americans would have revolted the second the Purge was proposed, but it's fun to theorize. If it ever does happen and everyone arms up, we can guarantee one part of the economy is going to skyrocket.
Gun sales? Anyway, fun video by Alternate History. Very fun video, and it's gonna be like this is the introduction video of his videos to my channel, because as I said, it's a channel that just speaks to me, right? I typically like the history videos, but I thought I'd start with this one because it wasn't as it's not. I didn't expect it to be as dense, because it's not like actual history, so I didn't expect it to be like, oh, you know, what if I've seen some of his other videos titles that are like, what if the Persian Empire you know, didn't collapse or whatnot, or what if Alexander the Great didn't die? I mean, it's the same thing, really. You know, Persian Empire, but like, you know, things like that, where I feel like he's gonna go into a lot more detail. It's gonna like examine things a lot more. I thought, yeah, that speaks to me, but I don't think it's time to start with a video like that right from the get go. So I'd much rather start with something that sounded light, like this one. And we'll like do more in the future. Let me know your recommendations as well, if there are any specific ones that you want me to check out. I've seen 2 of those or 3 of those. Like I've seen 2 or 3 of his on a channel. I think it's like, what if Germany didn't lose World War II? And what was the other one? Maybe that was a 2-parter. I'm not sure, but it was like another one that was like similar, but I'm not sure like what it was now. But yeah, just let me know your recommendations down below, just in general, his channel, other channels. You know, as many recommendations as possible are always needed and appreciated. But with that said, I'll see all of you in the next one. Everyone, Purge sounds like a stupid idea. I mean, I wouldn't leave the house. Granted, people could break in, but like, I would just barricade myself, like, just for a day, right? I can find a place to hide. Like, that's not a problem. Like, if it's for like more than that, okay, that's when it becomes a problem. But like, for a day, it's not that difficult to hide. Now, you wouldn't want to be wealthy or rich or have any sort of money, because quite frankly, at that point, they're coming for you. Nobody's breaking in here. This area is like, it's not middle class, but it's like, yeah. I used to always think this area was the ghetto, but like, I actually realized that it's not. I realized like recently that it's like, it can't be the ghetto. It's like middle class, and I just never realized what the ghetto actually was, because I always feel like I'm poor, but I just looked around, and because I was looking at new cars and whatnot, and I was like, I don't know anything about cars. Let me just see around, just look around what my neighbors have, so I kind of know like what car to get. Because again, I've got a bus outside, but I'm actually trying to get a car, and like I see a Tesla, I see you know, BMW. I mean, granted, BMWs aren't that big, or Mercedes, they're not that massive either. But then, like, you know, you go around like 5-10 minutes from where I live, you start seeing the Lambos, and I'm like, yeah, we're not really the ghetto, are we? Like, I always thought, like, you know, because the way I perceive it, I guess, it's just like, yeah, we're not really rich or wealthy or anything. You know, we've got enough to live, but, you know, it's not like, it doesn't feel like it's life-changing money. But now I actually realize, wait a second, the cars that I'm looking at, you know, those are like cars that people keep mentioning, and brands that people keep mentioning. Now, granted, I don't know how expensive those cars are, but like, those are the brands that people keep mentioning, are like, yo, these are the cars that I want. I'm just like, I don't know anything about cars, bro. But yeah, I would hide. That's what I got from this. I would hide if that happened in real life. I've got my trusty screwdriver. If anyone tries to break in, I'm just like, self-defense. Not a crime. Well, it is a crime, but my defense would be self-defense. I would represent myself. Ooh, I'd love to be in court representing myself, not other people for once. That'd be nice. Anyway, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I will see all of you in the next one. Everyone, until then, have a nice day. Peace out. As always, see ya and bye.